Imagine your childhood toys suddenly springing to life, but instead of wonder, they bring chaos. Joe figures wielding real weapons, hunting Barbie dolls through suburban streets while families cower. This was Small Soldiers.
We have met the enemy. He is big. He is fast.
And it was a commercial disaster. When Small Soldiers hit theaters in July 1998, it arrived during the golden age of summer blockbusters and toy-based entertainment. The late 90s were the peak of action figure marketing, where every movie needed its toy line and every toy line dreamed of becoming a movie. DreamWorks, still in its ambitious early years under Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen, saw this as their answer to Pixar's success. With a $60 million budget, Small Soldiers seemed positioned for success. But it earned just $54.7 million worldwide, a devastating loss that likely doubled when marketing costs were included. This wasn't just disappointment. It was complete failure in a summer dominated by Armageddon and Saving Private Ryan. Small Soldiers didn't fail because it was poorly made.
Major Chip Hazard wants a war. We'll give him a war.
It failed because it was trapped. Too violent for children, too juvenile for adults, and too satirically sharp for mainstream audiences wanting simple entertainment. This technically brilliant film with groundbreaking effects and sharp social commentary became one of the 1990s most fascinating failures, showing how Hollywood can accidentally destroy smart, subversive ideas. Small Soldiers didn't fail because it lacked ambition or technical prowess. Quite the opposite. The film was a victim of its own contradictions, caught between multiple identities that ultimately satisfied no one. At its core, this was a movie that couldn't decide what it wanted to be, and that confusion rippled through every aspect of its production and marketing. The most glaring issue was the film's schizophrenic tone. Director Joe Dante, known for his subversive horror comedies like Gremlins, had crafted a dark satire about militarization, corporate greed, and the dangers of unchecked technology. The Commando Elite weren't just malfunctioning toys. They were a pointed critique of America's military-industrial complex.
It's a small world after all.
Complete with dialogue about collateral damage and acceptable losses. Meanwhile, the Gorgonites represented pacifism and environmental harmony, fleeing from their aggressive counterparts like refugees from war. But here's where everything went wrong. DreamWorks marketed Small Soldiers as a family-friendly adventure, the spiritual successor to Toy Story. Television spots showed cute toys coming to life, promising magical wonder for children. Parents bought tickets expecting wholesome entertainment, only to find their kids watching toy soldiers commit acts of genuine violence, including torture scenes and psychological warfare. The film earned a PG-13 rating, but by then, the damage was done. This wasn't just poor marketing, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of the product. Small Soldiers featured groundbreaking animatronics by Stan Winston Studios, the same team behind Jurassic Park's dinosaurs. The combination of practical effects and early CGI created startlingly realistic toy characters that moved with weight and presence. These technical achievements were genuinely impressive, but audiences didn't come to appreciate craftsmanship. They came expecting simple entertainment and got complex social commentary instead. The film's genre confusion extended to its story structure. Was this an action movie? The explosive climax suggested yes. A comedy? Dante's satirical touches said maybe. A horror film? The genuinely frightening moments when toys turned predatory certainly felt like it. A family adventure? The marketing insisted so. In trying to be all of these things simultaneously, Small Soldiers succeeded at none of them completely. Joe Dante's original vision had been far more adult-oriented, closer to an R-rated black comedy. Studio interference forced rewrites that softened the edges while maintaining the subversive core, creating an uncomfortable compromise that pleased neither children nor adults. The result was a technically masterful film that felt like it was arguing with itself. too smart for its target audience and too sanitized for viewers who might have appreciated its sharper edges. Cast Small Soldiers assembled an impressive cast that should have been one of its greatest strengths, but instead became another example of the film's fundamental confusion about its own identity. The human characters felt like afterthoughts in a story that was supposedly about their world being invaded, while the voice cast, despite featuring A-list talent, was largely wasted on one-dimensional military stereotypes. Kirsten Dunst and Gregory Smith were cast as the teenage leads, but their characters, Christy and Alan, felt pulled from a generic teen movie template. Dunst, who had already shown her range in Interview with the Vampire, was reduced to playing the supportive girlfriend role, with little agency or development. Smith's Alan was meant to be our everyman protagonist, but the script never gave him a clear character arc or compelling motivation beyond basic survival. These weren't bad performances. They were underwritten roles that gave talented actors nothing meaningful to work with. The film's most tragic casting element was Phil Hartman's performance as Phil Fimple, the overly enthusiastic neighbor. This would be one of Hartman's final roles before his murder in May 1998, just 2 months before the film's release. Hartman brought his signature blend of suburban neurosis and manic energy to the part, but the character existed purely for comic relief without connecting to the film's larger themes. It's heartbreaking to watch Hartman deliver his trademark performance in service of such an underdeveloped role. Where Small Soldiers truly excelled was in its voice casting, though even here, the potential was largely squandered. Tommy Lee Jones voiced Chip Hazard, the leader of the Commando Elite, bringing genuine menace and military authority to what could have been a cartoon villain. Frank Langella gave Archer, the Gorgonite leader, a noble dignity that elevated the character beyond simple victim status. The supporting voice cast included Ernest Borgnine, Jim Brown, Bruce Dern, and George Kennedy, legendary actors who brought gravitas to their toy soldier roles. But here's the problem. These characters were written as one-note archetypes rather than fully realized personalities. Chip Hazard was just generic tough military guy, while Archer was simply wise, peaceful leader. The script gave these talented performers clever dialogue and memorable one-liners, but never developed them beyond their basic functions in the plot. It was like having a symphony orchestra play a children's nursery rhyme, technically proficient, but ultimately wasted potential. The film's most memorable scene showcases both the cast's potential and the script's limitations. When Chip Hazard interrogates Gwendolyn using a heating element, Tommy Lee Jones delivers genuinely chilling threats with the same intensity he brought to The Fugitive. It's a moment that demonstrates how effective the film could have been with more consistent character development, but it also highlights how isolated these strong moments were within the larger narrative. Perhaps most frustrating was the missed opportunity with the human family dynamics. Dennis Leary, as Alan's father, brought his sardonic edge to a role that should have explored themes of generational conflict and parental responsibility. But the script never developed these ideas. The family felt like they existed purely to react to toy chaos, rather than as real people whose relationships might be tested or strengthened by the crisis. This casting confusion reflected the film's broader identity crisis. Great actors delivering competent performances in service of a story that couldn't decide whether it wanted to be character-driven drama or effects-driven spectacle. Small Soldiers premiered in July 1998 to a reception that perfectly encapsulated the film's core problems. Critics and audiences found themselves watching completely different movies, and the disconnect revealed just how badly DreamWorks had misjudged their own product. Critics were surprisingly receptive to the film's satirical ambitions, giving it a 54% rating on Rotten Times. Many reviewers appreciated Joe Dante's subversive edge and recognized the sharp social commentary lurking beneath the toy warfare. Roger Ebert praised the film's technical achievements while noting its dark undertones, and several critics drew favorable comparisons to Dante's earlier work on Gremlins. They understood that this wasn't really a children's movie. It was a pointed satire about American militarism and corporate manipulation dressed up as family entertainment. Audiences, however, were far less forgiving. The film received a disappointing 6.2 rating on IMDb, with many viewers expressing confusion and frustration. Parents felt deceived by the marketing campaign, having brought their children to what they expected would be a wholesome Toy Story-style adventure, only to find scenes of genuine violence and psychological terror. Children were often frightened by the film's darker moments, while adults found the premise too juvenile to engage with seriously. The film fell into the dreaded middle ground. Too intense for kids, too silly for adults. The summer of 1998 proved to be particularly brutal competition for small soldiers. Michael Bay's Armageddon dominated the action movie market with its over-the-top spectacle and clear target audience. Disney's Mulan captured family audiences with traditional animated storytelling and strong characters. Most damagingly, The Truman Show offered audiences the kind of smart, satirical entertainment that Small Soldiers was attempting, but with a clearer vision and more consistent execution. Jim Carrey's media satire found its audience because it knew exactly what it wanted to say and who it was speaking to. Small Soldiers also suffered from unfortunate timing regarding its themes. The film's critique of military culture and corporate manipulation arrived during a relatively peaceful period in American history, when audiences weren't particularly receptive to anti-war messaging. The Columbine shooting, which would occur just 9 months later, would make the film's depiction of toy violence seem prescient and disturbing. But in 1998, these themes felt abstract rather than urgent. Perhaps most tellingly, the film's box office performance revealed the audience confusion in real time. Small Soldiers opened at number 2 behind Armageddon, but dropped precipitously in subsequent weeks as word of mouth spread. Families who had expected one type of movie warned other families away, while potential adult audiences never materialized because the marketing had positioned it as children's entertainment. The film did find some defenders, particularly among genre enthusiasts and film students who appreciated its technical craftsmanship and satirical ambitions. Over time, a small cult following developed around Small Soldiers, recognizing it as an unfairly maligned effort that was simply ahead of its time. But this critical reevaluation came too late to save the film from commercial failure. International markets proved no more receptive than domestic audiences, with the film's American-specific military satire failing to translate across cultural boundaries. The total worldwide gross of $54.7 million against a $60 million budget represented a catastrophic loss when marketing costs were factored in, effectively ending any possibility of the franchise that DreamWorks had envisioned. Legacy 2.5 decades later, Small Soldiers occupies a fascinating position in cinema history, a commercial failure that has aged remarkably well, its themes proving far more prescient than anyone could have imagined in 1998. What seemed like heavy-handed satire then now reads like prophetic commentary on our current technological landscape. The film's exploration of artificial intelligence run amok feels strikingly relevant in the age of ChatGPT and autonomous weapons systems. When Chip Hazard's programming evolves beyond his original parameters, systematically learning to overcome obstacles and eliminate threats, it mirrors contemporary fears about AI development outpacing human control. The Commando Elite's ability to adapt and escalate violence without human oversight now seems less like science fiction and more like a cautionary tale about military AI applications. Small Soldiers' critique of corporate consolidation has proven remarkably accurate. The film's fictional Globotech Industries, which manufactures both toys and military hardware, anticipated the real-world trend of massive conglomerates controlling seemingly unrelated industries. Today's tech giants, companies that make children's devices while also developing military contracts, make Globotech seem less like satire and more like documentary prediction. The environmental themes that felt underdeveloped in 1998 now resonate with urgent clarity. The Gorgonites' peaceful, Nature-oriented philosophy stands in stark contrast to the commando elite's destructive militarism, speaking directly to current climate change debates. The film's imagery of suburban destruction caused by unchecked technological warfare feels particularly relevant as we grapple with the environmental costs of constant consumption. Stan Winston's animatronics work remains impressive by today's standards, giving the toys a physical presence that purely CGI characters often lack. In an era where audiences have grown skeptical of over-reliance on digital effects, Small Soldier's commitment to tangible, in-camera work feels refreshingly authentic. Streaming platforms have given Small Soldiers a second life, allowing it to find the audience it never had theatrically. Without marketing pressure or theatrical expectations, viewers can discover the film on its own terms. Many contemporary reviews praise elements that 1998 audiences found confusing. The tonal complexity, the satirical edge, the refusal to provide easy answers. The film's failure to find its audience in 1998 now seems less like a judgment on its quality and more like a case study in timing and marketing alignment. Small Soldiers wasn't a bad movie released at the right time. It was a prescient movie released at the wrong time, to the wrong audience, with the wrong expectations. Small Soldiers ultimately proves that commercial failure doesn't negate artistic value. Sometimes the most interesting films refuse to fit established categories, challenging audiences in ways that only become apparent years later. In trying to be everything to everyone, Small Soldiers became something unique, a warning wrapped in entertainment that we're only now beginning to understand. So, what do you think? Was Small Soldiers ahead of its time, or were its failures inevitable? Do you see the film differently now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's fascinating failures, make sure to subscribe for more explorations of movies that dared to be different.